Ladies and gentlemen, there are two groups I particularly enjoy addressing in my work as the Special Envoy for the Ocean. They are those involved in saving coral and those committed to protecting and restoring mangrove forests. This is because in the vernacular, these are my peeps. I was born and spent much of my working life along the coral and mangrove coasts of Rewa and Namosi and Maduata in Fiji. And I know in my bones that coral reefs and mangrove forests are vital to the health of the ocean. And let me say it again, dear colleagues, there can be no healthy planet without a healthy ocean. Thank you for the privilege of speaking to you all today, and I send every best wish that you and your families are safe and well during these troubling times. I've been asked to welcome all the participants to the Global Mangrove Alliance workshop, and I do so with pleasure. I'd also like to thank IUCN, Conservation International, the Nature Conservancy, the World Wildlife Fund, and Wetlands International for hosting this workshop series. When the going gets tough, the tough get virtual. I say that only partly in jest, for it's been my experience over the past 8 to 9 months that we've been able to maintain the momentum of SDG 14's implementation by conferring through the connectivity of the internet. Yes, there may have been backward movements in areas like plastic pollution and IUU fishing, but overall I judge the momentum to be positive. There's a growing acceptance that humanity has been pushing the planetary boundaries too far and hard, and that we must get back into balance with nature by following a blue-green recovery road out of the economic hardships of this pandemic. And may I say that SDG 14 has always stood for that balance to conserve and sustainably use the ocean's resources. I'd be preaching to the choir if I was to spell out the economic value of mangroves and their essential place in the coastal ecosystems of the world. So I'll leave that to the body of your discussions at this workshop. What I'd like to do in the short time available to me today is to commend the achievements of the Global Mangrove Alliance. Since its launch in 2016, it's great to see that the Alliance has grown to 22 members, all leaders in the field, working together across more than 50 countries on more than 200 projects across thematic areas, including mangrove policy and science and implementation of restoration on the ground. In my speech that I've just recorded to the ESCAP in Bangkok for the Asia Pacific Ocean Day later this month, I did commend the work of the Global Mangrove Alliance to the member states of ESCAP and recommended that they cooperate in their work with you. I note that only 9 governments to date, Thailand, Cambodia, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Vietnam, Bangladesh, Ecuador, Honduras, and Brazil, good on them, have endorsed the GMA. So as a child of the mangroves, the least I can do to support your work is to confirm my availability to assist the Alliance in receiving more endorsements from relevant countries. Ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you all throughout this workshop to keep in mind the Alliance's global goal of restoring the extent of mangrove coverage by 20% by 2030. It's a big ask, but let's do it. And keep in mind your goal of extrapolating what that means for the world and what solid commitments can then be made at the UN conference next year when we get together to discuss and develop. I can say this because I really look forward to being able to highlight the work of the GMA at the UN Ocean Conference in Lisbon next year. I've learned with deep appreciation that GMA members, for instance, are developing a new synthesis of mangrove conservation and restoration practices with members of the IUCN Mangrove Specialist Group. As I understand it, they will leverage the collective knowledge of a team of experts across sectors to summarize the state of the science around effective and sustainable mangrove conservation and restoration, with the goal of providing a sound methodological approach to mangrove conservation and restoration to benefit stakeholders around the world. On World Mangrove Day 2020, we were grateful witness to the GMA and partners launching Global Mangrove Watch, the world's most comprehensive mangrove monitoring tool. How wonderful to see this online platform providing synthesized remote sensing data and tools to catalyze the protection and restoration of mangroves worldwide. Global Mangrove Watch fully deserves all necessary support, for it gives universal access to real-time data on where and what changes are occurring to mangroves around the world. I understand that GMA members are planning to use this data to produce regular State of the World's Mangroves reports, and I look forward to reading these and helping in their dissemination to relevant leaders. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, in Fiji we say tambu soro, no surrender. Thus, I urge you to never give up on your good works on behalf of the protection and restoration of the planet's mangrove forests. Your work is vital in the truest sense of that overused word. I look forward to hearing the outcomes of this workshop series and how we can work together as we enter the UN Decade of Restoration and the UN Decade of Ocean Science. And finally, dear colleagues, I look forward to meeting you all again in person or virtually at the UN Ocean Conference in Lisbon next year. And I thank you kindly for your attention to my words.